It definitely was, right? Back and forth early on, Gold kind of jumping between V5 up early on, but then LNG quickly pulling it together. And we find out, Penguin, we're heading straight into game 2 because we have draft on our screen. Of course, this time V5 are the ones on blue side, so they're able to get their hands on this Lee Sin, which looks like it's going into the jungle because we also have Aatrox and Twisted Fate, so a lot of side pressure coming out from them, and it looks like that's being built to combat the Camille on the opposite side that we should be seeing Ale run with Icon on the set.
Yeah, Ale obviously very known for his Camille plays, was on it when he was on Natural back in the day with... I've forgotten the team. They rebranded.
DMO.
I can't remember. DMO. Thank you so much. I was like, they rebranded. That's why I can't remember the damn name. Too many rebrands. But
Sino Dragon. Let's go all the way back.
Yes, that's
but he wasn't on that.
No, he wasn't on that one. He was a DMO guy. But
yep.
Yeah, like honestly, like looking at the two team compositions right now, the Rumble set, we talked about it earlier in the day. The combination you can get with the Flash Facebreaker into an equalizer is fantastic, and you're adding in the Hextech Ultimatum. That just makes that combination even more, potent.
And the thing is, right, when you look at these drafts, you know one thing. We're getting a ton of action towards the top side. We have Varus, Tahm Kench in the bot lane. We have, Tristan and Nanos on the opposite side. I don't expect to see too much 2v2 action coming out, bar player mistakes, which is always possible, but both teams wanting to impact that very snowbally top lane matchup. A global on one side and just Camille on the opposite. It is always a recipe for a lot of volatility. And guess what? We love volatility in the LPL.
It's kind of what we're known for. The LCK, they're afraid to coin, to burger flip it at a Baron. Not us. We'll fight at any and every injection. Why? Because we can. And that is what makes the LPL so great. But coming back, obviously, into this game, we can see, just kind of a standard affair from a lot of these kind of players. The Varus and the Tahm Kench going to have a pretty decent time in the early game, and for Kepler, back on this Tristana, didn't start off great in the last game, if I'm being totally honest. I felt like Light and Iwandi kind of had his number, so another opportunity to show that was just a blip in the radar.
Yeah, definitely. And, he's going to have to player to step up if this game does go the distance, because we know LNG are going to have control of side lanes later on. They have a Camille, they have a Tahm Kench, even reinforcing that if any picks come out. So LNG, we want to see their top side get ahead early. If this goes later, it's going to be a lot on Kepler to get ahead. LNG have a pretty potent front line coming out the set, and even Iwandi able to keep everyone safe. So both junglers clearing towards the top side of the map. We do know Rumble's clear, definitely faster than Lee Sin's. We can even see that now with Lee only on Wolves, and Tarzan already finished with 5 of his camps. So going to be interesting to see where the action starts, because Tarzan, having Prio in both his soul lanes, is like, screw it, I'm going to look for him.
Yep, just going to go for it. And does he end up stealing it? I believe so, he did. And that means he's level 4, and there's no way for him to get out. Tarzan, that's what I expect to see from the guy so hyped from LCK.
Really nice to see him just punishing off of draft, right? Knows he has winning lanes early on, abuses that, goes in for the invade. Rumble extremely strong in scenarios like this. And like you said, PZX not able to get that smite, does end up going down. So we're going to see V5 try to help him out by starting this bot side scuttle. And yeah, hopefully he doesn't fall too far behind. And now for the side of V5, I'm not quite sure where you look. You can try and, find like cheeky ganks mid with the fact you have gold card, but Uniboy's pushing in. LNG's bot lane is extremely safe, and guess what? Invincible's getting dove topside.
He is. Very hard to dive Aatrox, though, as he does end up going down, so it ends up looking like child's play. Does not quite get the sweet spots down, doesn't flash away. Very, very quick 2 kills now for LNG, and they're looking to ramp up the pace. Took 26.5 minutes last time. They want it to be a little quicker this game round.
And it's so rough for V5. No camps up on the map. Finally, enemy Gromp spawning, so PZX is going to be able to pick up something. His bot side jungle camps will start coming up after that, but still, Lee Sin, a champion known for trying to find early aggression. Gordrinker coming into the game has made everything scale a little bit better, because you're able to go into team fights, absorb some damage, use that active, get out, and then come in for a second rotation of spells. But still, we know Tarzan going to outscale him heavily as he goes in. Yeah, just comes out with the smite. Flame Spitter comes down, has the E, and it was very nice coming out from him.
Yeah, it's like this boy walks up, smites your blue. What do? Apparently die. There's something else to do, but again, great start here for the side of LNG, 1,000 gold up, and for V5, they just need to try and stem the bleeding, need to try and just calm it down a little bit, but this Rumble will be looking to continually push forward, and this is probably why we don't see the Lee Sin into that jungle position as often as, you know, the solo lane positions, because you are very, very vulnerable in this early stages, and people like, you know, Rumble, Udyr, hell, you know, like a couple of Hecarim can abuse the fact that you are a slower clear, and also that you're not going to be as strong.
I mean, the big thing there was, right, you hit on the clear, but the other thing was just the prio in the lanes. You know, if the role was reversed, sure, you yourself aren't necessarily going to be able to invade the Rumble because you talked about the slower clear, but at least then Tarzan doesn't have the ability to wake up, choose violence, you know, just like we talked about someone choosing death earlier, and, you know, coming in to find that solo kill. So definitely a byproduct of how the draft is. We also saw Uniboy somehow, while we were in that replay, forced to recall, where he had to drop a wave mid, so even Icon having an advantage there. And we talked about this going to be about the top side of the map. LNG's top side of the map is all ahead, top, jungle, and mid, and they're just going to keep it going, keep PZX out of the game.
Oh, the Hextech ultimatum is down, as is the equalizer. Oh, the auto attack still follows through. The Infernal Chains will bring Tarzan back a little bit, but Invincible just going to take about half his health bar back off of that. So again, bullying in this jungle. It is Tarzan just laying down the pain.
And now I wonder if we're actually going to get to see the comeback XP being brought back into the game be relevant, because it's one of those things where you're not really going to see the effect of it all too much, because you only start getting comeback XP when you are 2 levels below the average level of every player in the game. And with him being set so far behind, we might actually get there.
No Hextech ultimatum, no equalizer. There is, of course, the ultimate there from Invincible. He's got the flash. He's got one more auto attack to kill him, but not quite able to take him down. But that does mean that summoners are down. The wave is lost. More and more pressure being applied. And PZX just can't really do anything about it. He can't go for this dragon because he knows the bot lane is SS.
And I love what LNG are doing here as well, to where they realize, hey, V5 are going to be able to play towards the bot side of the map. PZX is going to look to steal away camps. So while making the winning play on top side, they're also denying PZX from finding his way back into the game on the bottom side of the map. So nice coordinated kind of play coming out from LNG. I know this is something that Dom has talked about, that he likes that LPL teams do quite a bit, is like you'll see the weak side, quote unquote, go and, you know, stop the enemy jungle from stealing away their camps, taking those camps themselves, and understanding the dynamic of the situation on the map.
Definitely going very, very well right now for LNG. They do have an equalizer, and they do have another kill in the bag. You gotta feel like there's just nowhere for this Nautilus to go. Light picks up that one, 0-4, 2,500 gold lead. Dragon is on the board. Plenty of vision control around that objective. This is honestly just kind of gone bad for worse for V5 and LNG. They're just stepping on his throat right now. They're just not letting him up.
Now as V5 is when you start looking for those cheeky plays, in my opinion. We don't have Destiny up on Uniboy right now, but you're gonna have to overload one side of the map somewhere, right? We hit on how LNG pretty much outscale you with the fact that Camille's gonna be running rampant in these side lanes. Light is going to be able to deal so much damage without any member of V5 really being able to get on top of him. You even have Iwandi right next to him to get him out of harm's way. So yeah, overload one side of the map. You'll probably have to give up pressure somewhere else. So even if it's like, hey, setting Invincible further behind to find kills bot or mid, realistically, like you said, it's falling so far out of control too early on for V5.
Yeah, it just kind of gets worse from here, you gotta feel, because this Lee Sin is still not gonna really have any kind of impact on it. The exhaust does go down. Iwandi's our Uniboy did use the Destiny Gate, so it will not be a perfect game for the side of LNG. They will lose their support, as everybody did pile up towards that top side, but Rift Herald for plates in the bot side to see what else they can do now from the side of V5. Hello, Jordan. Are you still with me? I'm not quite sure if I'm muted or if he's muted.
Oh, Penguin, technical issues. They happen, but I'm
They
back.
happen. You're back.
We're,
Good. I was a little lonely for a second there.
you know, I think all of us need a little bit of alone time in life. So, you know, I probably did you a favor, but you know, we come back, we see Light putting down punishment onto Kepler, and going back to that play we saw on the top side of the map. It's like, hey, LNG knew V5 had 5-man on top. Ooh, is this going to be a solo kill? Nope, no, it's not, because Rumble's here.
Rumble is here, and that is as easy as you like if you're on the side of LNG. You pop down the Hextech Ultimatum, you pop down the Equalizer. It's exactly like what we talked about in the pregame, but yeah, this is getting dire for the side of V5, and those plays that are happening, yes, they pick up by Wandy, but he's not exactly the priority target, and while that was all happening, they're losing plates top, bot, mid, everyone's kind of gaining more gold around the map. It's just going to be a difficult time.
Also, interestingly, we see Rocket Belt coming out from Tarzan, also already sitting on the darks. He's just thinking about it. Here it is, his Mythic. He is so far ahead in this game. It is absolutely insane.
He really, really is. It's, you know, 100% kill participation, 2-0-3, PZX now. Just gonna have to use his ultimate. Nice knock up there, and that's gonna force a double knock up now with the ultimate. Tarzan forced to flash away. Doesn't have the equalizer just yet, but the showstopper to start it all off. Flash in, flash forward, and Light takes out Kepler on the backside of that play. Tarzan chasing down, burning up this Nautilus, man. And there's a couple of wild cards being thrown out there just to try and see if they can get any extra damage, but this game is all but over. LNG are just ripping them to shreds.
Now, the question I would ask you, again, no disrespect to V5. Again, new team. They've like working pains to go through. Can LNG win this game faster than FPX won their first game of the split? I'm leaning towards no. I feel like we're too far in without like enough mindless action forced. You know, like I don't think LNG are the kind of team that are gonna have, I don't want to say the confidence, but they're not going to be willing to take a gamble of like, hey, let's dive these turrets and make these plays to end a game. But what are your thoughts, Penguin?
I think my thoughts is that Kepler's having a pretty unfortunate debut right now, and this is going to be a just flash, boop. Nothing he can do there. 400 damage with the combination, so not a lot, unfortunately, they can go for that, and it just feels like LNG, oh no, V5, my boys, how far you've come, how far you've fallen. Iwandi will take himself another kill. Kepler is underneath his turret, so he should not die just yet, but he cannot approach this wave. And you're looking at this, you know, the CS across the map. You're looking at the kills. You're looking at everything. Turret plates. There's not many silver linings. I think the only silver lining I have is that you still have loaded dice passive on Uniboy, so he gets a little extra gold.
I mean, I don't know if that means too much coming to this game. Icon having Mythic already, even able to just walk up in his face and take plates. PZX still behind. Sadly, didn't get behind enough, I think, for us to see comeback XP come into play. So that's still not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, right, this is all just a byproduct of how the first jungle path went. It's like, hey, they had the pry on the lanes. They were able to shut him out of the game. And like you said, also shows why an engage comes out. Ooh!
Oh, tell me why he ain't nothing but a heartache. Sorry, I just had to go there. You said why and it elongated it. But off the backside here, we're going to see the Hextech Ultimatum come down very shortly. LA maybe thinking of best of it, though. He doesn't want to get caught underneath too many turret shots. And Iwandi there just to make sure. This game is now 8,000 gold in the favor of LNG. And this is just... Again, I'm going to go back to my crash. Tell me why, Lyric. Tell me.
I was going to say, let's be real. There was no more fitting way for you to call that play.
Yeah.
So
I had to just send it to the angels in heaven as they greet V5.
Yeah. But
it is what it is. But look, you know, obviously, look, we're having a bit of fun. We're memeing it up a little bit. We have no disrespect, of course. The Showmaker skin being popped off there onto the Twisted Fate, but it is what it is. And I think that the way we should look at this for V5 is that you take these, you know, learnings from this, you know, this loss, and you look towards the future. Because again, have to mention as we come into this, as we can see a very weird visual impact there. Nice little engage there from Icon, but this is their first competitive game as a 5-man squad. There is so much that goes in, and you can probably a testament to that. There's so much time and prep that you just can't even think about that goes into when you're trying to make a 5-man squad work.
Yeah, no, you know, a lot of it when you're coming in with, you know, building a new team that hasn't played together before, a lot of your early success, in my opinion, especially when it's like between spring and summer, and you, like, this squad has probably been together, like, playing for a few weeks at most. A lot of your early momentum, you're riding off, like, kind of natural synergy of, like, okay, this guy's very quiet, and he's, you know, let's say you have a top laner who's quiet and proficient on tanks. You have a very aggressive bot lane player who is also naturally very vocal. You have a jungler who likes impacting lanes, like things like this, like a system that comes together. That's when I think you're very lucky on a team. So V5 definitely gonna have a lot of growing pains, and I think a game like this as well, right? We didn't get to see how draft ended up like this, as LNG probably not gonna be punished.
No, they're just far too far ahead. As Invincible keeps ticking down, he's about 100 HP left in his health bar. They will not lose much, but honestly, Kepler still on the bot side. I agree with this. There's no way you make any difference whatsoever to that mid lane push, so you might as well just get some global gold for your team. Get some XP, get some extra minions underneath your belt, and try and just scrape back from this 10,000 gold deficit. But Icon has other ideas. He's going in, he does pop down the Haymaker, that extra shield keeping him nice and tanky. He is down to about 500 HP now, though, so needs to be a little bit careful. As we can see the lack of health bars and the lack of mana as that happens, and Camille killed off the Tristana. So Kepler died, and I'm sure we'll get a replay of that very shortly, because nothing else really happened.
Oh, well, more's happening now, Penguin. Oh,
it is indeed.
That happened very quickly.
It happened, and then it stopped.
Well, I feel like for V5, right, I think you can look at game one especially, and like there's a lot of things you can go through and like review and like look at maybe like the timings you roamed, you know, like mid jungle to top. Look at how you could have supported your bot lane better to where you weren't losing out more on like the split and trade side situations. This game, I feel like, will be a lot easier. Again, we didn't go through draft live, so it's like, hey, how did you end up at the conclusion of like this was the draft that happened? I mean, he's gonna go down, right? He's far behind. Ollie's 2 levels up and extremely fed at this point, but I feel like this game, you're going to really look at draft and say, how did we end up here where we ended up with Lee Sin in the jungle against Rumble, whose clear speed is insanely strong, like you said, with laners that were getting forced in early on. And like, it's a lot simpler to look at this game and look at one or two things, draft in the early, the first clear, and be like, okay, this is what happened, this is why this game was lost. To where game one, I feel like there's a lot of like nuanced things that V5 can probably take away from that game and come back a lot stronger.
And for LNG, you know, this is a great start. Obviously, you know, we have to talk about how, like, for V5, it's, you know, it's obviously very disappointing to start off in this fashion. But for LNG, can't take away is that this is exactly the kind of style that they need to be winning matches in if they want to be pushing for higher up in the playoffs. Now, it's obviously still very, very early on in that conversation, as we can see Invincible not looking so invincible right now. One more auto attack from Light does take him down. But for LNG, this is a fantastic start.
Yeah, the thing I like about what we've seen from LNG this series is that they were transferring pressure across lanes. They were reinforcing Tarzan in his invades. Like we saw them come together as a unit in a lot of situations, and that was where we saw them lacking when it came to their run in Spring Split.
Oh, here we go. Equalizer out, the lights are out, and away we go as everyone's just kind of running away. V5 need to head for the hills, run for their lives. They're trying to go in. They will get the shutdown down onto the set. That is going to be Icon dying for the first time, but everyone else is falling so damn quickly. Ale flash forward with the empowered auto attack, gets the kill down. Invincible, looking like he's invincible underneath his 2 Nexus turrets, and they're just waiting for the minion wave. Actually, they're not even going to wait for the minion wave. They're going to have themselves a Rift Herald, and the question is now, can they get themselves a Dancing Rift Herald before the end of the game?
That'll be a question. I expect no, and
no.
We see them backing off right now. And right, we've seen a lot of, I mean, we've seen action force from all members of LNG, but especially highlighting their top in jungle. I think Tarzan's a player we've talked about a lot, but highlighting Ale as a player who we remember when he was on DMO, right? Some bad games from that team. We saw that they had good players from the fact that a lot of them did end up going to other squads and finding success, just not finding success as a unit. Ale coming over to LNG, wasn't the full-time starter starting off, was trading time with Nakuya, and Nakuya was very much the main starter by the time LNG came into playoffs. Heck, Nakuya played all 3 games against Suning, but Ale is a player that we've always known had a lot of potential, was very exciting to a lot of us back in the day when he was known as a natural. A very strong carry top laner. Camille and Jax are his main champions, and it's very nice to see that LNG are once again going to give him another shot on the roster and play around him coming into this split.
Do you think that that opportunity comes because of the way the meta is shifting, because it's shifted back to that kind of solo lane prio, as we can see another move in forward as Ale gets gobbled up there by Iwandi, but they want a little bit more as ZYF going to be taken down pretty damn quickly. The Hextech ultimatum's enough to lock him down in place, and now Kepler trying to do something to flash into the arrow, piercing arrow to be hidden behind the body of the Barons. Double kill for the man we were just talking about, Ale, as they try and just jump in on top of these Nexus turrets. The minions are there. We'll bring that topic of question that I was just asking you back in a moment, but a 2-0 in 21 minutes in the second game. LNG on the board for LPL 2021 Summer.
And that's definitely massive, right? No matter what team you beat or what the circumstances are, you just got a very dominant 2-0 going into LPL Summer. And I truly believe momentum is a very real thing. Being on a team before and working with players, it definitely helps your atmosphere, you know, when you're winning as compared to like when you're losing. Things that you wouldn't talk about as problems come out in a lot of other circumstances. When you're winning, everything's good, momentum's good, scrims, you know, however they're going, you can kind of brush them off and be like, hey, well, on stage, it can work out if we do this better. So I really want to see where LNG takes this going into their next matchup, which will be against BLG. So a team they were very close to in the standings last split. BLG, of course, you know, coming out with what we view as roster improvement. So I'm really interested to see where LNG goes from here.
Yeah, honestly, you know, we'll see how they're able to kind of improve and push forward for V5. Lot to learn, a lot of things to kind of fix up if they want to make any kind of headway within this league. And you know, I'm not calling it too early, but they could be. I think they're V5, but I think they're bottom 5. I don't think you know, playoffs is going to be in the realm for this team if they keep playing like this. It just feels like the talent at the top is too stacked.
I mean, and the thing is, right, you can see from their roster, this was a developmental split for the side of V5. They obviously brought together that last roster, got close to making it to Worlds last year, but fell short. And with all the V5 players going to opposite teams, it seems like, hey, we're going to bring in some players from the LDL, find which ones we can, you know, kind of bring up and keep developing, or maybe there's a chance that, you know, with time, this team improves enough to where, right, they're slowly competing for like that, like, 8th through 12th region and so on and so forth. So I think for V5, right, we saw in game 1, Invincible was a very interesting player. They still have another sub jungler if they want to like kind of mix and max coming into Jug God, which I assume is short for Jungle God. And interestingly enough, their next matchup is against WE. So they're going to be facing their former mid laner next Wednesday. Yeah,
Mole, and we had a whole, just to speak on Mole for a second, we had a whole segment built up for Mole, an ode to Mole, a love letter, if you will. Couldn't use it because we got delayed because Ultra Prime decided to be decent and put FBX to the test a little bit. But still, great win for the side of LNG. Not so great start for V5. They're going to have a lot of, you know, trials and tribulations as they push forward. They are literally, I think, as you said, their next one's against WE, which is a week later, so it'll be next Wednesday. But you know, we're starting to kind of build back into the season. We're starting to see how teams come in. We're starting to see first impressions. You know, this is a good first impression for LNG, and honestly, I really hope that they continue on this momentum like you talked about.
Yeah, again, I like that we saw things come together on the map. That's what wasn't happening before, no matter like how laners like their bottom lane was doing, no matter how, even if Ale would have been playing last split or like the games he did play, right? It doesn't matter if you're doing well in lane, if you're not turning that into something, if you're not like taking turret and then starting to roam, getting vision down in the enemy jungle, shadowing for your mid laner. There's all these like small nuanced things that you need to be doing with the advantage you have, or just having an advantage in isolation means nothing, right? So good first showing. I like that their schedule also scales up. They play against BLG Friday, and then coming into next week, they'll face JDG. It's kind of like a slow climb in terms of their first 3 matches of, again, a team that comes with a new roster, a team that was middling before, and then JDG they might have not done too well in playoffs, but I think JDG is a team you're always going to put respect on their name. So I think we're going to get a very good like litmus test of where LNG is at very early on this split.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like, like you said, the matches they got come up to them are very good tests, and that's, they haven't changed anything. I want to make that very clear. Like they feel confident that this roster is the roster that can make them, to get them far enough in playoffs to potentially go to Worlds. Like that is the goal for everybody here. They want to go to Worlds, and thankfully, thank you to the RNG and MSI, we have 4 seeds. So it's the most you're ever gonna have in that regard to be able to get into Worlds, because like every other region, they get 3. We get 4.
Yep, us and the LCK getting those 4 seeds. So yeah, I definitely think LNG. I mean, everyone, right? Even V5, you're working your way towards that. Even if right now that does look a little bit hard to obtain, and I think, to no surprise, maybe a slight surprise. I don't know. Ale being the one to pick up MVP. I think between
well.
Ale and Tarzan, it's like, hey, there could have been an argument made for either one, because Tarzan's invade definitely is what started this game off for like the snowball we ended up with. But I mean, Ale was the man just pushing the advantage forward every step of the way.
Yeah, honestly, we talked about him at length in the game. The guy has really kind of come in today and stamped his foot down, saying, no, I am the starting top laner for this team. Makuya will be there in the background, but I am here to stay. And a fantastic start. Honestly, I don't think there's any kind of, if, buts, or maybes about that. About how he continues that when he goes against, arguably higher caliber talent in the top side is when we'll really start to see, kind of what kind of metal he has behind him.
And that's the thing, right? We remember him going toe-to-toe with a lot of the top laners in the league in terms of his laning phase especially. He was always an ultra-aggressive player who, in terms of 1v1, always was reminiscent of another player like Bintimi. He very in the same vein of top laners. I think him, Bin, someone like Garvey, who we didn't get to see a lot of. But we had these some very, I'll say obscure, Bin obviously not now that he's been in World Finals, that have this style, and he's definitely one of them. So hopefully LNG can build off of his strength in that area and have a more, I'd say, solid side of the map to play around. Because again, Iwandi and Light in laning phase early on, I even say overall, are very solid in terms of LPL. But I really like the killer instinct that Ale usually brings onto the Rift.
Yeah, I agree with you completely in terms of that killer instinct. The idea that he will, if he can see an opportunity, he will go for that opportunity. Or even better yet, he will make an opportunity for himself. And I think that kind of X factor is very much needed when you're looking towards, like we said, the upper echelons of, your FBXs, your Edward Gamings, your JDGs, your top esports, those kind of teams coming into the split. And look, we have plenty of weeks left to go. This is halfway, not even halfway realistically, of the first week of 9. So we have so much League of Legends to go then, and I'm sure we're going to have a much bigger and better picture of how he ranks up in the grand scheme of things, hopefully, in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and, I think overall talking about that, especially once we get into the weekends, the 3 series weekends of finding out where teams stack up with the amount of games we're going to be having.
Yeah, 100%. But we have a look at the end of the day. Of course, we did have 2 series today. We can see now how both of those ended up happening. As we're going to see, our earlier game was FBX versus Ultra Prime. It was a very close affair. Ultra Prime definitely showing themselves to have some potential as the season goes on. And our second series, which went from Shanghai to Suzhou, was LNG versus V5. We just finished off with LNG absolutely smashing that one. And honestly, this is kind of how, the kind of results we expected, but definitely not how we expected to get here, especially for the first series.
Nope. And, going into tomorrow, another day of games I'm really excited for. TT going up against JDG. I think TT have some very interesting changes, especially bringing in someone like Long Xing, who's a player, been criticized by the community quite a bit, but still a player I'm a fan of and believe does have the ability to kind of show his mettle. JDG, who knows what roster they're bringing out tomorrow. Then LGD, we don't know if he'll play, but having a player well known to Western fans.
Yep, Shadow going to be going into the LGD roster. We're not quite sure exactly if he will be there. Of course, we'll get that confirmation. I'm sure one of us, of our many fantastic casters, will tweet it out. And of course, RA looking very good off of their first set of, kind of set of wins. Of course, at the start of the second day, I believe they were 2-0 over OMG. Yep. So looking to keep that momentum going for them. And I think, if I do remember correctly, that is all we have for the day. I have thoroughly enjoyed casting with you, Lyric. It's been a while since we casted together, and always a pleasure when I get to do it.
I just like that you sang songs during team fights twice today. I didn't expect it. You did it. You pulled it off.
It was twice. It was twice.
It was twice. You did it earlier as well.
I wanted to be a singer. That was what my Freudian slip. It's like I was always meant to be on the main stage as a singer. But that is all we have time for today. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, even on any of the co-streams. Thank you all for joining us. I have been Penguin. He's been Lyric. Thank